GingerGM.
Well, hi, welcome to a long play video, and this is the first time I've actually managed to face another Grandmaster, which is quite cool, because people are always moaning, you know, why'd you play so many weak players? It's not the point, and we're going to give the Trompovsky a go. Now, just before we get into the game, I just want to tell you about something at the start of this video you might be interested in. Only for another 24 hours, I'm running a sale at GingerGM on our latest two products. If you're looking for an opening against 1 E4, then I highly recommend both the Lazy Ne4. It's a lazy way to learn one of the most exciting openings, the Sicilian Ne4, and then another very exciting opening, the Tigers Modern. And both of these DVDs quite interesting because there's two Grandmasters presenting, me and the expert. So I'm basically asking the expert questions, and the expert is answering as we go along. They're half price for 24 hours, so they're under £10. They're both about 5 hours or more long, and they're both great ways to learn an opening. So if you want to pick one of those up, or both of them, go to the shop there. I'll leave it in the link to the description, and grab yourself a piece of the action. Right, let's go back to the chess. So the Trompovsky is a line that I've been playing a fair bit nowadays, especially in Blitz. I like sort of playing maybe 500 games or so in each opening, so I can really try to master the ideas. And it's an interesting way of meeting knight to f6. You avoid quite a lot of theory. Now, knight to e4 is one of the main moves. I'm quite happy my opponent has played that, because now I play the Harry idea with h4. And already this position is very unique and interesting. My point is to, well, if he takes my bishop, is to take back with the h-pawn. And as I often love doing, open up the rook's file. So it's an interesting line. So let me just, sorry, I've just got to do one thing, because I asked my friend if he could play a game, and I'm just checking if he's available, because I'm going to be streaming later on, if we can move that onto a stream, and that's Aldo. So yeah, I think this is called the Raptor variation, and already I like this position. It's very unique, very interesting. Now, there's two ways black can play here. There's c5, which you may have seen me play before. It leads to very interesting dynamic positions after d5, when black tries to come down and take my weak pawn on b2. On the other hand, you just let black capture this pawn on b2 and develop. I'm quite surprised my opponent is taking so long on his moves here. Let's see who he is. Okay, so we have Gerard Scherbler. Sounds very German name, from Thailand, and he is, well, we can see a bit about him here. So I mean, I can pretty much be sure that he's a genuine player, but it is strange that on move 3 he's spending 3 minutes. The move which I think is probably a better move for black, and it's probably about equal the positions after the move, is pawn to d5. Black takes a stronghold in the center, but the games are more, it depends what style you want, and when you're picking an opening, you really need to pick openings that suit your style. Even if there's maybe a better line, you know, the computer will probably say that taking on b2 is a better line for black, but that kind of way of playing is only suited to players who generally don't mind a bit of defending, and they like grabbing pawns. That wouldn't be me. d5 is a good little move. Put that pawn in the center, and then I've got to think of a way to get rid of this knight, because this knight's very annoying. Okay, so, well, I think I'm happy to see this move, because we now get one of the main lines of this Raptor Trompovsky, and here I push on with d5. This is the only sort of way to really test this move. Other moves trying to go into a London system with e3 or c3 don't work so well now. Not with his knight on such a great square already. So this is the most dynamic move, and Well, there's two ways of playing here. Queen b6 is, I think, probably the normal way. And after Queen b6, I will just try to develop quickly and get rid of the knight. Okay, but instead, my opponent has whipped off the bishop, so there's no choice with my move there. I'll take that one back, and he's gone g6. And this is also quite a good way for black to play. It's not. I've never really been able to manage to checkmate my opponent over on the king side in these positions. I need to get a queen over here, and he always has h5 when I do that anyway. But one benefit I do find about this kind of position is that I have not committed my pawn on c2 to c4. Because if the pawn's on c4, his bishop becomes very, very good, because I don't have the possibility of playing c3. And in this position, I do have the possibility of playing c3, blunting out the bishop. So I'm just thinking, do I go e4 here? I don't really want to go knight c3, I feel, because I want to put my pawn on c3. Now maybe just c3, but e4 can't be a bad move. Come on, I mean, we're the reason I play d5 is to take the centre. So let's put these two pawns on these two decent squares. And now he's attacking here, so now I'll play c3. Trying to blunt this guy out as long as possible. And you can see that I've got to think where to put my pieces, because development is key. So I expect one knight here, the other knight probably here. And the bishop I'm never really sure about, I'll be honest, in these structures. It might even be worth me giving a check here to try and discombobulate my opponent, because he needs to think about these two pieces. So again, I'm thinking about my development where I want to put my pieces, but I want to stop him getting his pieces out. And I imagine this is his problem piece, the bishop. And if I go knight to f3, he goes bishop to g4 and maybe eliminates it. Maybe. So if I throw this check in first, there is method behind this move. If he goes knight d7, he locks his bishop in. If he goes bishop d7, I'm thinking then I put my bishop back on e2, because I actually want his bishop on d7. Why do I want his bishop on d7? Because I want to later on stop his knight coming out to d7. So this move is a little bit of discombobulator. And okay, so he's put his knight here, but now I can, well, I can even go knight to f3. But I also maybe don't want him to go a6 and b5, do I? You know, a6 and b5 gives him that typical space over there. So a4 is now looking like the natural move. And I'm even thinking, do I go f4 or do I go knight f3? f4 is very risky. I could regret such a move as f4. But I think for now I'm going to play a4, because then, you know, this is not just about developing my pieces. I need to and this is what chess is all about. Chess is about discombobulating your opponent's ideas. And a6 and b5 I think clearly helps my opponent, expanding on that side of the board. And a4 is a normal way to stop this move. And also, you know, the c4 square for my knight at some point is probably quite attractive. Now, okay, so he castles. Now, I was wondering here if I can get my queen to h4. This is another reason I've left my knight here. So let's have a think. So if I go queen here, something like knight e5, queen h4, then he has to move his h-pawn, otherwise he's going to get mated. And I take that one, and, you know, my Harry pawn becomes very strong. So is there anything to fear here? Here. Queen here. h5 takes, bishop h6, h7 check, king moves, queen to here, and then c4 with a knight d3 is something I'm a little bit worried about. I mean, this is the critical line. Queen here, knight here, queen here, h5. But I suppose then I don't have to take on Passon. I could play something like bishop e2. It kind of feels good and most aggressive to get my queen to h4, doesn't it? So I think we should go for this one. And the quickest way to get it over here is, of course, to play it here. And this is another reason this bishop move is actually quite handy, because I wouldn't be able to get my queen here had I not forced my opponent's knight to this square. So I'm just going for quickly to queen h4, and then I'm going to think about the position after this. So, for example, like knight here, queen here, h5. If I take on, pass on, I'm just a little bit worried about bishop f6, gaining a tempo on my queen. And when my queen moves, I mean, this is what I'd like to play, but then if my queen, oh, maybe I go to, if my queen moves, I'm worried about him playing c4. If you can picture that position with his knight on e5. The reason I'm worried about that is because he can try to trap my bishop with a6, and his knight has knight d3 coming in, because the pawn on c4 stops me eliminate that knight. But as a backup plan, after knight here, queen h4, h5, of course I don't have to take on Passon. I could move my bishop back to e2 with the idea of potential sacrifices with my bishop here. Then c4 is not such a worry. But moves like queen b6 are when he's trying to attack my weakened queen side. So knight e5 is certainly the move I'm most fearful of in this situation. Knight here, queen h4, h5. Then I need to find a good move after this h5 move. Now, if I go f4 there, just looking at other possibilities, his knight comes into g4. And I can't really get rid of that knight, so I'm not a massive fan of that position. So taking... Okay, so he hasn't played that. I think maybe my opponent missed a decent possibility there. And I'm even now tempted to eliminate this knight. I don't know. Is this good? I don't know. I don't know. The other thing is just bishop e2. Bishop e2. Maybe he's planning queen b6. I expect this is his way of playing because my queen has come away from here. He's going to try to do something over there. I could, of course, now move my queen here straight away when he's got to play h5, but then takes bishop here. And okay, this is a very interesting position. I'm glad we got this game. As it's certainly very intriguing, isn't it, this? Bishop e2, queen b6, and this is really annoying, this pawn, but I could I play queen h3? Is h3 a better square? No, I don't like lining up here. So this is a critical position here. I mean, I'm thinking, do I just take that off straight away? Because then after bishop takes, queen moves h5. I think his knight might be better than my bishop. It's hard to say. I maybe just have time to play knight d2, and I have two knights against two bishops. He'd probably play e6 and open it up. And, well, then I have g4. Really weird positions. Okay, so we need a good think here because, you know, in critical moments, you know, this could change the whole course of the game. Now, instinctively, I want to play bishop e2. This is, you know, and I normally I try to make my instinctive ideas work. But after queen b6, it's actually really annoying to defend this one. I mean, if I go knight d2, he takes here and c3 is dropping, and rook here, queen takes c3. Is this really possible? Queen here, h5, bishop takes h5, pawn takes, queen takes, rook here, giving his king an escape square. Fascinating position. Fascinating position. So I'm looking at, or do I play queen move? Okay, so queen here, queen here, queen h4. And wow, it's just an amazing position this already. My bishop's here though. I mean, this is so complex. And if I go queen here, h5, then go bishop e2, trying to sacrifice here, or go g4. Queen here, I can't go rook a2 because his queen comes in here anyway. So I have to give my queen side up. So queen here first, h5, bishop e2, queen b6, knight d2, queen takes b2, rook here, queen takes c3. And then after queen takes c3, I go bishop takes h5, trying to release an attack. Probably he takes it. I go queen takes h5. He goes rook here. What's that position like? Well, then I go knight e2, gaining a tempo on his queen. And his queen has to move, but I only have one check here. I don't think this check is enough with his king escaping to f8 always. So knight e2, for example, queen c2, unless there's a way I can build up the attack. I mean, I've got a G pawn, so I could push for the G pawn. Very, very complex. Or maybe knight f4. Let's go for knight f4. That feels more logical. But am I threatening anything there? It feels like I should have some threats, but can I resist such a thing as this? Oh. Well, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go here first. I spent a lot of time on that move, but I had to. So I think I wanna make him play this move, and then the move I really want to play is bishop to e2. So I'm going to analyze this line again here, bishop e2, and I want to sack on h5 or play g4 and force my way through. So h5 only defense. I mean, you can go rook here, but I mean then I mean rook here is actually not entirely stupid because he's still coming down. He's still taking here. Unless I take the knight off before the knight gets a chance to come to f8 and get knight d2 in. So he's gone h6. Okay, now h6 is a move I didn't really consider, but something I don't think I should fear. So I'm going to give up my queen side, I think, here. So I'm going to go for this. I'm going to go for bishop e2. And of course, queen b6 is I think the correct way to play. It's a pity I don't have one more tempo. If my knight was on d2 here, I think my opponent would be in major problems because queen b6 would just be met by knight c4. But queen b6 seems like the only way for my opponent to gain counterplay. And then I'm just going to give up my queen side. Knight d2, queen takes b2, rook b1. And in that position, after something like queen c3, I'm going to hope that it's possible to generate some kind of attack, but is it fantasy? I mean, I've got rook h3 attacking his queen like this as well. And then his queen maybe just comes back to a5. So is this just not working for me? It just feels like there should be some way to make this work, but queen b6 obviously, I mean, h6 may be a very clever idea because it stops this possibility of my bishop taking here. So actually, even though, you know, it looks very dangerous from this position, it's not entirely clear how I break through, because as soon as I take here, he uses my pawn as a defense. His bishop is a great defender. Now I don't have a dark squared bishop. I'm going to find it very hard to eliminate this bishop. So of course he has played this move. Now rook here, queen comes in here. This is not working, and this move is very strong. So I mean, other ideas with b4, pawn takes b4, look very dubious because his bishop then is even stronger. So I think I have to just develop and give up my queen side and hope that I can generate enough play either with threats of trapping his queen or gaining tempo around his queen, or somehow generate an attack. So I've got to go rook b1 here. I've got to give up this guy, and then we get our next critical position where I'm 2 pawns down, and like I mentioned before, it's not entirely clear how I'm breaking through, because as soon as I take here, he goes bishop here. But there should be some way. I mean, I don't know though. It's a weird position. Okay, so he has played here. So okay, so now now rook h3, his queen comes over here. I don't really see how this helps me. Now if I take here, bishop here, I can check, but again I don't see how this is helping me. So is my risky play simply backfiring here? Do I even have to play a move like f4, which is not stupid because his main move he wants to play is knight here. So f4, which does weaken a lot of squares, takes away this key square. And if I take away that square, these two pieces will struggle to enter the game. So f4, followed up with ideas maybe of playing e5 or f5, is a way to keep some pressure going here. And at the moment in time, this move looks right. Because if I go knight to f3, he just goes knight to e5. And I must stop this knight to e5 move. Rook moves, rook h3, so what? His queen comes to a5. I don't see how that helps, so I think my only option here is f4. And my idea here is to play knight to f3 and to continue as such. If he goes h5, I'm assuming I have to take on h5 with my bishop. I have g4 ideas as well to get rid of that pawn, but you know, this is very double-edged. I mean, somehow I expect the computer does not like my play here. I expect in computer terms I'm 2 pawns down, and it probably thinks black is quite safe, but it's a mess. And other things I have to watch out for here. Maybe my opponent will suddenly play some e6 move and start a counter-attack against my king. But as long as I keep this knight and bishop out of the game, I've still got some hopes for my position. I mean, also, if I play e5 at the right moment, I'm then threatening to take on h6. So if I go e5, he has to take on e5. And in that position, do I then have more possibilities because I've trapped his bishop out? Let's have a look. So e5 pawn takes, you know, some knight e4s at the right moment. I don't think so, but this is where I want to get my knight. I mean, let's just think. Here takes, is there a rook h3? Queen here. Don't see how that helps. And if I go f5, how does that even help me? Well, I'm trying to then... I think I need to get my knight to f3. I think I need this one in. One potential idea here, actually, is something like knight to f3, g4, or g4, and take on h6 and then go g5. The problem is, as soon as I take on h6, it is very hard to break through that position. I kind of want to, you know what, I think the way I'm playing this attack at the moment is not just thinking about my own ideas. I've got to really concentrate on stopping my opponent's plans. Then I will have this play always. Okay, so he's played rook here. This is a very sensible move. He's got knight f8 and he's got e6 potentially on the cards. e6 being a move which is slight concern, because like I mentioned, if he opens up the e-file, it becomes a bit dangerous. I think I should just continue knight to f3. Does it help me going rook h3, or does it just put my rook in uncompromising position? Rook h3, queen a5, so what is my rook doing here? I mean, I could go g4 then with the idea of this taking, but I think his bishop comes in here, and I don't really want to do this either. Knight f3 looks natural. I just feel that, is knight really good there? Takes here, knight g5. Okay, I like this. I like this. It develops a piece. It protects this one. It supports here. And in some positions, I maybe can take and put the knight into g5, which is more effective now because f7 becomes a little bit weak here because his rook has moved away from defending it. So, for example, one idea is pawn takes here, check, knight g5 if he puts his king here, because then I'm threatening knight takes f7. So I'm starting to generate some threats with these sensible moves. f4, I think, will certainly, looking at this, my best option. And let's not forget here, you know, his queen could, at some point, I could gain a very useful tempo against this. I mean, I can even consider king f2, putting the king here, and then just trying to trap his queen. You know, rook here, knight here, but that seems a bit funny. I mean, why move my rook on h1 away? I mean, it's on an open file. I mean, the Harry attack, look at the raptor pawn. The raptor pawn's got all the way here. So if he goes h5 now, I no longer have the sacrifice, but I do have g4, which I'm assuming should give me enough play. But then he can take on g4. Check is just a check because the king comes to f8. So h5 is maybe possible for him, but it feels like I should have some way to either prepare a sacrifice there or prepare a g4. So I think this is still a very interesting position. I have the initiative. That's what I wanted. If you're going to play the Trompovsky in this brutal manner, then you need to you need to prepare yourself for positions like this. This is you know, if you're not willing to play positions like this, you shouldn't be playing this line of the Trompovsky. So it looks like my opponent, has he retired to Did he say it's Thailand? Is he someone who's fought chess holiday in Thailand? I mean, I was, you know, if I was a single guy, which I'm not, and you know, I'd be very tempted as someone to go and disappear to a beach in Thailand. You know, I get a nice little shack on the beach. I'd have to have good internet connection, and just do all my chess stuff from a beach in Thailand, because, you know, I think it'd be lovely weather, lovely place to be, beautiful. I've never been, but I mean, I've read The Beach, I'm sure, and seen the film. And, you know, just live like a king on a beach in Thailand doing chess stuff. Wouldn't that be the dream? Maybe my opponent's living a dream. Maybe Gerhard is living the dream here. And of course, he does a bit of coaching. You know, that's not a bad price for a Grandmaster. €25 or $30 for 60 minutes. I've no idea how good he is at teaching, but he's a Grandmaster, so he's going to be good. That's a good price. You know, maybe check this guy out if you want some coaching. I wouldn't charge that cheap, I'll be honest. I would be charging more. So maybe... Okay, so he has played here, right? This is intriguing. Okay, so... He's relying on... Yeah, I mean, this actually does make a lot of sense. Now, how do we try... I mean, G4... I suspect he takes on G4. Now, if I go queen takes there, his knight can then move, and it suddenly frees his game up. So G4 takes. And if I go check, it's just a check. I don't have enough firepower. But can I go G4 takes knight H2? Try to get this knight around somewhere like this. It seems a bit weird to me to play like that. Can I go rook b3 here? Does this actually even help me, or is it just one of those artificial moves again? Or do I now go to the king f2 plan? Because the reason I want to play king f2, it just allows this knight to move in a number of variations. So it's a lot to think about. My time is ticking. G4 I just can't get to work because he takes it. Check is just a check. And if I recapture back, his knight moves. I don't want to allow that. So G4 takes knight H2. Just looks wrong to me, because, you know, he's gonna play something like E6 and break. He must be breaking there. So my king might be best over here. You know, I mean, with some ideas to try and trap his queen with knight here and a rook to this square. I might have to change plans. And connecting my... It can't be bad, because... You know, I mean, if I go here, I'm probably most worried about some E6 move when he tries to get a bid for freedom. But I think I'm going to have to go for this king f2, and I'm going to have to not rely on the kingside attack 100%, but keep other ideas in mind here. One idea is knight c4 with the idea rook c1, because I think his queen would be trapped in that situation, because his only way out is coming here. I mean, other things I'm thinking about doing now is rook b3, maybe keeping my rook here just in case I can get an h-file attack. Queen here, knight c4. You know, I feel like this knight wants to move. You know, also maybe e5 pawn takes knight e4 is something I can consider, but I don't see a follow-up then, except for some f5 move. But I'm really putting all my eggs in one basket there. So probably my main idea is knight c4. This knight's actually not really partaking anyway. Just trying to see how his queen will react to that. I've always got this g4. Well, I don't always have it, but at the moment I have this g4 idea. But pawn takes queen here check. Okay. So he's played this one. A very interesting move to gain counterplay. And if I take, his rook comes in the game. I mean, that's not bad for me if I go here, queen here, take here, because I can take the rook. But I don't really want to be playing on this side of the board if I, you know, if I can help it, of course. No, I really want to play e4. It just feels right to me. E5 actually. E5 takes knight here. Queen c2, f5 takes. I mean, is this really just rubbish? Just attack? So much to think about here. It really is. As you can tell, there's so much to think about. It's a pity we haven't made this time limit even longer, I feel, actually. Okay, this is why rook here, queen a5. Oof. Should be actually. I mean, this position is just absolutely wild. G4. Can I takes check? Rook b3 is not working, are they? I like the idea. I like the idea of rook b3 and just putting everything on a kingside attack. What about rook b3, queen here, g4 takes knight g here? Oh no, because then my knight drops. I don't really. Maybe I should be moving this rook, but I just feel like I want to keep my rook over here in this position. So I'm thinking e5 is an all-in move, which might fail. It takes knight here, queen here, must be correct. F5 takes f5, and then if I take on h5. Let's say pawn takes here. I don't see how my attack is coming there. It's a fascinating position, but I need to find something soon. Do I really have to do this and allow his rook in the game? I don't want to do that. Really don't want to do that one. Can I move my knight around to take on h5? It just feels slow. I'm gonna, as soon as I get here, he goes bishop d4 check, and whose king is in trouble. Do I move this rook here? I don't like that. It seems strange as well. I mean, I really just don't want to move this rook. Okay, so what lines do I thought were best here? So I'm thinking now rook b3, queen here. Okay, and then let's say I take there minimum, but then he gets play. I don't want to allow this. So rook here, get rid of his queen, and then g4 takes, and if knight here, he takes on d2. If I take with the queen, he moves his knight in, then my queen comes back. Some hope of an attack. I don't know. I really need more time here. It's just one of those positions which is so complex, and I mean, you know, I make my excuse for saying I'm commentating and talking, which takes a bit of brain power away. But okay, well, I'm surprised he's gone there, because I had a feeling bishop d3 was strong. But he's dicing with death, putting his queen over here. Okay, well, I'm going to go bishop d3, surely. I didn't even consider that move, as you're probably aware. But okay, let's go bishop d3 now. And if queen here, well, I can take. It's really. I wanted to go bishop here and just force his queen back even more. And I really now need to have a big move, because I'm giving up more material. I need to attack him here. G4 must be coming up with some attack here, otherwise is e5 takes f5. Oh, he's on my queen, that's annoying. So g4 seems like the only possibility. I've got to attack him. This is the only way I'm going to make some kind of way through, but he's been very greedy, and it might pay off. I mean, I want to get my rook to h3, then I have some mating ideas, but it's a long way. I'm hoping my bishop might. Okay, so this check is check, king here, knight here. Feels like I'm too weak in the center. He has a check, king e2. If I take, the knight comes in, then my queen comes back. This might be my best option. I didn't want to allow his knight in the game, obviously, but I think now I have to do this with the hope that I can try it. But I don't know. I think he's defended very well, actually. I'm sort of losing faith in this position here. I needed a bit more time in that key situation. I mean, sometimes it's one thing about attacking, it's a lot more fun, but it requires a lot harder work, because when you're defending, you often, as my opponent's played brilliantly, you have to find only moves a lot of the time when you're defending, and finding only moves in actual fact is actually reasonably easy, because you just play only moves. On the other hand, when you're attacking, you have more options. Okay, so here things are looking bad for me. I think I have to take the rook. I mean, I'm still, in these positions, there's still always chances, because if I get my rook here, somehow I have an attack. If he checks here, I have to go king here. And, okay, so I have to go here. There's no point. And then he gets this e6 move in, doesn't he? And we know how fearful I was of e6, but I don't have any choice. I have to go here because my knight's on pre. And, okay, well, e6. Can I go rook here? Rook d3. And then I want to get my rook to h3 and threaten some checkmate here. This is still a mess. Absolute mess. I think rook d3 is the way to play. Now, knight moves. He has a check. Rook here straight away. He's protecting this square. So I want to force his queen to a worse square first of all. I want to get his queen off this diagonal. Because if I get his queen off this diagonal, I may have rook h3 threatening queen h8 check. Rook takes h8 and rook to h7 checkmate. But at the moment, queen to h8 with a rook on h3 wouldn't work because he goes bishop takes, rook takes, and his queen takes. So rook h3 now is an idea. Is he going to just run away then? Other ideas here. Can I somehow get this bishop in? Well, rook h3, maybe he's just going to go king f8. Oh, time! Ah, Jesus, this is not good. God. Okay, I just can't see a move what I'm going to play again after his king runs. As long as his king goes to f8 here. Maybe I can move my queen with the idea of going here, but my queen's too passive to get in. So, this is my mating idea, but I don't believe I don't believe it. After king here, it seems to not be working to me. Just king f8, and I can't see what I'm doing next. Can I go e5? Hope he takes and go d6, but he just takes on this square, doesn't he? And my pieces are on terrible squares. So, well, okay, so I think this really is looking lost for me now. I'll keep throwing everything I can at him, but he seems to be escaping well. I'll keep throwing everything I can. Again, my last chance, get these two ideas in. Still bishop takes here. I have, or do I have this check? I nearly have mate, very close. He's living quite dangerously here, but he's maybe worked out he can live dangerously. I mean, rook e7, he gets mated because of rook h8, so he has to move his king back into the corner. And then I go, okay, then I play here, and maybe I have a queen f6 idea. Is queen f6, like something like bishop e5, queen f6, or bishop e5, queen takes e5, and rook h8 mates. Queen f6 is the idea, but I can't lose my rook. He still has no check. My king looks awfully exposed, but I'm covering all checks at this moment in time, and maybe queen f6 is a threat. Bishop takes, pawn takes. Ah, he has g5, and he covers the h7 square. Yes, it does feel like this is not working. The other idea, okay, so he takes here. Well, I've got to play quick, haven't I? Got to take here. Now, pawn takes, queen f6 might... Okay, so he gives back some material. And now queen f6. What about queen f6 here? That can't work, can it? No, it can't. So, queen h2. It's not going to be working here. I can't see how we're going to get anything working here. He has some checks as well. This is the problem. Yeah, my position is bad. Do I just grab a pawn and hope? But I don't. His rook comes in then, and don't see how. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something here, but my king is too exposed. I think it's too exposed, isn't it? Okay, we'll go here, but I think this is, as I've said for a while, maybe just game. He defended well. When your opponent defends well, what can you do? And when you play chess like this, it's not. And now this is easily winning for him because his pawns are too strong. So I'm going to resign this one. But an interesting game, and we'll have a look on the computer at this game because I don't think I played it particularly well actually. Not one of my better games in a position that I probably generally play quite well. Before we do have a look at the computer, do remember the sale, please, if you want to support me. It's a great way of doing it. For under £10, you can buy one of these DVDs. Also, here's a nice bit of artwork for a chess festival, but the venue might be changing. Let me just say that for the Plough Bloomsbury. But okay, so let's have a look on the computer because it was a very interesting game, and one thing you need to do when you're playing chess, if you lose a game like that and you want to keep playing the same opening, a standard way to improve is to obviously look at the game, put it on a computer, and the computer can tell you where you can improve. So next time you get the same opening, you will know where you went wrong and how you can improve the next time around. And this is just a very standard way of improving. So I'm just going to get the computer evaluation up, and nice to play a Grandmaster, and it was a good fight, wasn't it? It was a good fight between the two of us. So let's just have a look. So I think the key moment starts to occur around, let's say, Queen G4, around this moment. So maybe Queen G4, as the computer's indicating, is just not wrong. The computer really doesn't like this move. Maybe, I mean, it's a very aggressive move, and it's very, very tempting, but it doesn't maybe seem to. Well, okay, it's interesting. But if I don't go Queen G4, I mean, I guess I just play normal moves here. Knight D2 or just stick to my Knight F3, and I'm probably alright. So maybe Queen G4 is a mistake. But how can you resist such a move as this? But as we saw in the game, I was always actually struggling to just find the right way through, even though it looks like I've got a fantastic attack. And I even said at the start of the video, I never end up checkmating on the H file because of H5. I should have listened to my own words and here played in a more positional manner. Maybe by developing my knights and going for queenside castling or something like this. This would have made more sense. I mean, Knight D2 here, I think it's a much more logical move, isn't it? Just play this because I keep the option here. If his knight comes in, I have F4, and this is a much better way to play. I mean, yeah, here, and I've got A5 and Knight C. I mean, this is the way I should play. Probably just keep it more refined. But okay, we wouldn't have had the fun. So after this move, let's have a look. So A6, Queen H4, H6. And now it thinks black's a little bit better, but let's keep going. So queen, bishop here, I give up the 2 pawns, and like I said, I thought the computer would not like my plan here, but it seemed to me like I may have some chances later on, but maybe I'm just I'm trying to create too much early on. This is a mistake that I often do. You know, I see some interesting ideas, but really this attack is never leading to anything, and I kind of knew that, but I went for it anyway, so I've only got myself to blame. And in the ensuring complications, well, let's keep going a little bit more. After H5, well, it does give King F2 as the best option, and now B5, and my opponent pretty much played perfectly, didn't he, the whole game? He played all the top computer moves by the look of it. I mean, Rook B3, Queen C2, again the top computer move. I mean, I think most people would have wanted to escape there. And now after this one, well, I have to go G4. I mean, you know, otherwise I'm not doing anything, and my position is just pretty atrocious here. Later on, let's have a look later on if I had any chances. I mean, it really doesn't like my position at all, and he's still playing all the top moves. No. E6 is so logical here. E6 just, it looks like such a correct move to play. And now Rook D3, Queen A4, and yeah, I'm in trouble because the one trick he's got to avoid is Queen here. So if he goes Bishop here, I go check, and this is the mating idea that I'm trying to pull off. But King F8 simply stops all that, and well, as well as having a bad time situation, my position is crumbling. And again, he finds the top move. It's still a little bit tricky for him because if I have one more tempo, I'm going to be winning this game. You know, I'm certainly, if I get F6, getting one moving, I feel like I'm doing okay. So here, Rook H4, only move, and now he simply takes here, and this position here, yeah, and there's nothing here actually, nothing at all. I've been too optimistic. Another problem that I often have in my play is being too optimistic, and that is the situation here. So an interesting game. So one thing I actually learned from that in this opening, this idea of going Queen G4, going Queen H4, it just doesn't really work. It looks so tempting to try to checkmate here, but as we saw in the game, my opponent can always just move his H-pawn. And when he moves his H-pawn, that's really, I mean, that's quite good for me, because what that has, basically, I knew this already, but what it really has firmed up in my mind is that, you know, this is not, I mean, it's so tempting to do this, but in actual fact, when the H-pawn moves, it's not actually doing anything. I'm not attacking, I'm not checkmating here. The position may look dangerous in, but in actual fact, it's just not that dangerous. And the whole idea of probably bringing my queen to H4 is wrong. And instead, I should be keeping some flexibility, playing knight D2, and just playing normal, sensible, developing moves. Maybe later on, I can attack here, but I've got a feeling that it should be with my rooks. So I probably want to get my rooks on the H file. And keep a position. Don't give up the whole queen side in order to get this attack. Just develop. So that was a good learning experience for me. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Please do check out the sale, which is going on, 50% off, and that's happening for about 24 hours. So under £10, you can get one of our latest DVDs, short period of time. And of course we have this chess festival coming up, but well, we might need to change venue, more about that later. And that's all for now, so cheers, and I'll hopefully see you soon. I'll be streaming tonight with Fiona, so I'll be back then. Goodbye for now.